Um, okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining DataCon LA 2020. Welcome to the Business Intelligence Reporting and Use Cases track. And soon we'll be listening to How to Become a Business Intelligence Analyst session with Christian Bourdeau. I'm Ozzy Tarula, your host, and our co-host today is Stephen Kwok. We will be moderating the chat and Q&A on the WOVA app for you during the session. Today we have our guest, Christian Bourdeau, and he will be talking about how to become a business intelligence analyst. Without further ado, I hand this over to the speaker. Thanks for being here, Christian.
All right, thanks for having me. Yeah, I know it's a tongue twister. Becoming a business intelligence analyst. I have to keep saying it over and over.
Thank you, Christian.
So I am a senior business intelligence analyst at PlayStation. I work on the PlayStation Store, and I create all of these automated reports to help operations, marketing, and so forth. And as well as working at PlayStation, I also work at USC, where I teach data analytics and data science. All right, so who am I? PlayStation. I'm a USC teacher as well, but I'm also a Call of Duty esports photographer, and we'll kind of go into that a little bit later. So for those that know, like for me, I actually started off in photography completely. Let me see. I started in photography, and I pivoted into data. So a little bit about me. I got my bachelor's degree in marketing in May 2016. I think this is a precursor. I have a pie chart on my cape that I wore that I created for myself. I realized that after college, I thought I knew it all, and I was wrong. I knew nothing about the real life. My first job out of college, I was actually a food photographer. Like this is an example of a shot that I made. This was an ice cream waffle cone with Captain Crunch on it. And pretty much my job was to photograph all these types of foods, right? And I got to a point, this is where I started thinking about data, because I would take all these photos, and for me, I'm like, these photos are great. Like, I just want to lick my screen right now. But like, how do I measure what's good and what's bad? Like, which photos did well, which photos didn't? And this is where like, in the middle of my job, like I kept getting the pat on the head, but I wanted to know like, what are they looking for? How is my photos driving business value? So I started looking into Instagram analytics, and I was able to see which photos were doing really well as far as engagement, likes, and stuff like that. And that's when I started thinking about like, dude, I like this data stuff. You know, I did a lot of stuff in Excel and stuff like that. So like, this is an example of my first data visualization where these graphs here were before I joined, and this is what after I joined. So we can see that like I could see that the average likes went up after I started doing photographs. And I was like, you know what? So this is a piece of the deck that I did. So this was like, this is in 2016. And I was like, dang, let's like, I want to continue looking into it. So interesting story about this one. I'm part of AMA, which is the American Marketing Association. And I was, after college, after I finished this job, I was like, I want to get into data analytics. I didn't know what business intelligence was or anything. I went to a conference just like this, and there was the VP of Business Intelligence at Machinima. He came there, talked. Machinima, for those that don't know, is a YouTube channel, a gaming YouTube channel. Pretty much I talked to the VP afterwards, after his conference, and I told him like, I've been studying Excel and this new thing called Tableau, and I'd love to do what you're doing. I love what you said about like, followers is a vanity metric, but engagement is the metric to look at. So I landed my first role in business intelligence, where my primary tech stack was Excel. So I did a lot of Excel stuff. So then later on, Machinima got acquired by Warner Brothers. So then I got to do some really cool data work, where I got to work on every single one of the Warner Brothers properties, which means HBO, that's Game of Thrones. I got to work on Crazy Rich Asians, all of the Justice League, all of the DC comics. Like Warner Brothers owns a lot, and I didn't realize that. So I got to work a lot of stuff, and I did a lot of reporting in Excel, like a lot of manually pulling. And I remember one day, we had our database administrator come over, and he's like, wow, dude, you're doing all this stuff manually? Like, I was like, this is just how it is, I have to pull data from a database and put it into Excel, manipulate it, and then make a chart at the end of it. And it would take me literally 8 hours. It took me a whole day to complete one report. And they laughed at me. It's like, oh, you should go learn Python and Tableau. And I was like, oh, okay. So with that in the back of my mind, I had no time to ever learn anything new. And I was just still in Excel land. But what ended up happening was, so this got Warner Brothers acquired Machinima. So I went through one acquisition, was great. And so Machinima was like an analytics company. And then AT&T bought out Warner Brothers. And then I was laid off completely. And I was like, crap. And like I was there for 10 months. And this is when I knew, like, all right, you know what? I still have no coding background. I want to get into coding because those dang software engineers and database administrators, they were like saying that my life could be so much easier and better. So I decided to join USC's. They have a master's certificate boot camp. And this is where I learned Python for the first time. I learned how to do SQL and all these different data mining, machine learning and stuff like that. But I don't use machine learning too much. But after I finished the course, they asked me to come back. I was one of the top students, and they said, hey, I want you to come back to be a TA. So I got to go back through the entire cohort for free, and I got paid to do it. And I got to learn even more about like how Python is used and how to use it more in a production environment. So I've only like started coding. I guess first time I ever opened up Python was in 2019 in May. So and now I was at the end of my cohort, I was able to get a senior level position at Nike. And so from this was so crazy. After I was going through the boot camp, I was able to create projects that showcase that I understood business intelligence from end to end, from database to data visualization. And we're going to be able to talk a lot more about that later on. So then in July 2019, I was made an offer by PlayStation, where I am now, and that I could not refuse. Like right now in the tech industry, in business intelligence, is so booming. It's booming a lot. Like there's a lot of money to be made and there's a lot of work to be done. So that's why I wanted to do this talk on business intelligence, how you can do it. So I've had less than a little bit more than a year of experience in coding, and I'm in business intelligence now. So this is why for me, I'm talking to you guys, because like everybody here, you're either students or whatever. So who's this presentation for? Combine the data and business you should. The best solution an analyst will be. And that is why we're going to be talking today about business intelligence. So who is this presentation for? I noticed there's a lot of recent graduates. They're looking to get an edge in the data job market, because right now the market is flooded. There's not that many, like it's COVID, and COVID sucks. And I totally get it. I know what it's like to look for a job in COVID, and I know what it's like to look for a job without COVID. So we're going to talk about those strategies later on. Also for data professionals looking to pivot into business intelligence, maybe you're sick of doing those 8-hour Excel reports and you want to go into something where it's more automated. Or like those that just want to learn how to utilize data to optimize business processes, because it's super important. So here are my objectives for today. First of all, let's define business intelligence. What is it? Why do companies need it? What tools do BI pros use? And what do BI analysts do day to day? And how do you land your first job? So what is business intelligence? In a nutshell, it's the process of collecting historical and present data. And that's usually in SQL databases and cloud databases. And we'll talk more about that later. Then once that data is stored, we use stats and software to analyze the raw information. So that's like Python, Tableau, Power BI, Google Data Studio. And then you deliver those insights for making better future decisions, which is like reports and dashboards. So this is the business intelligence lifecycle. So first off, we go here. So it goes SQL data, so database, data viz tool or BI tool, which is like Tableau, Power BI, and then dashboards is like the end result. So business intelligence, what is it? It's like a business understanding. So let's go through a use case. So maybe a business sells games. They want to know which games are selling the most, or maybe which games are most profitable. That's probably easier. So I have to collect data that shows games and their profitability. And then I might have to prepare that, because it might, like, maybe the data is going to be at the sale level. Like each row of data will be like Call of Duty, DLC, and it costs $40. And that's just one row, right? And then they have a record for every single thing. So I'll have to prepare that data. And then exploratory data analysis. This is like, okay, now that I've prepared all this data, like, okay, what is the most popular game? What is the most profitable one? And then like, what, maybe there's some other things that are leading to profitability. Maybe a game is just all DLC or something like that, or just some kind of, this is pretty much just exploring the data, making sure that you're pulling in the correct data. And then you model it, which means like, for me, modeling means like put it into a format where it can be easily visualized. And then you get the model evaluated by the end user. And then once the end user, like, let's say like this is the CFO, he wants to see the profitability. Then you're talking to him, you're like, hey, does this work for you? And he's like, you give him a little snippet. He's like, yeah, that works. And then you deploy your visualization. So for example, let's say, SQL, let's say Tableau. So Tableau, you would put it up to a server where everybody can see that data viz, versus like in Excel, where like you would send somebody an Excel report, an email, and then they would just be like, they might lose it next day or whatever. But this is in a website, essentially an intranet, where people can access those visualizations. And it goes back to business understanding and continuing on. So why do companies need BI? So it's really to make smarter and scalable data-driven decisions. For example, this is a dashboard. This is actually one of my dashboards I created that landed me Nike. And it's using a very popular data set. Like, I think with one thing with business intelligence is that you don't need to go off and create some crazy data set. Literally just use data sets that are like really wide known, because where you're going to show your value is how well you can tell a story versus how well you can collect data. So examples is analyzing customer behavior. So with this dashboard, it shows the customer performance for this particular company. And this is like Superstore data, which is the Tableau data set that it comes with. But it's essentially, think about it as like Walmart. So we have I have a little bit customer overview where I could see that there's 686 customers in the Western United States. This is all US data. And in the West has the highest number of sales, highest number of orders, highest average profit, blah, blah, blah. And I have all these different parameters here where they can change the dates, they can do XYZ, customer segments. And then here I have just different diagrams that are showcasing like the customer sales and profits. This is a scatter plot showing profit on the y-axis, sales on the x-axis. And so these people are most profitable, and they're also, have the highest amount of sales. So these are the people we want to focus on. And these are the people that we want to get rid of, or at least figure out why is Sean Miller have the most sales, but not profitable. So this is why BI is important, because it allows the company to understand what's going on. Because when you get bigger and bigger, it's hard. Like when you run your own small company, it's easy to keep track of the data, who your customers are, because you see them face to face. But what if you're a national company? You need data to figure this stuff out. Okay, so this is where most of you guys are probably going to take some screenshots. So the BI tech, let me just do this. The BI tech stack. So this is generalized, and I'll explain why. So Excel, everybody uses Excel. And so you just kind of have to get around it. I think it's one of those tools that every beginner should know, because that's what all your customers are going to know at the end of the day. But that's just level one. Level two is SQL and databases, and how to join different tables together, create aggregations, create different views of your data that would be extremely difficult in Excel. Like in my work in Excel, I do VLOOKUPs across 4 or 5 different sheets. It was ridiculous. With SQL, it's just a join and it's easier. And then Tableau. So Tableau is a data visualization software. It's the most popular one right now, but the other alternatives to Tableau is Power BI and Google Data Studio. And at Sony, I use Domo. But Domo you can't use unless you have a license. So I recommend those other 3. Like Power BI is free if you have Microsoft Office. Google Data Studio is free. Tableau has Tableau Public, which is free, so you can learn it. Python is an obvious choice. Like literally, this is the foundation to all data structures, for loops, and APIs. This is like as raw as it gets, because in my experience, I haven't had to do any Java or anything too crazy with other programming languages. So this is pretty much it. I say Amazon, AWS, because this is where your cloud is typically. So the alternatives to Amazon and Redshift is like Azure Cloud, but most companies are on Amazon, especially like Sony and PlayStation. PlayStation and Nike are using Amazon, and it's just what people use. And then people use Git and GitHub for version control. So if I remember my first role, I dropped a database that I wasn't ready to. I dropped something in production, and my heart sank. That was like every single body's data, and I was like, oh crap, I just lost everything. And I think that's just a coming of age of a data professional. And then they had GitHub, and they're like, okay, cool, I have what it was last time I updated it. So it's going to take a few hours to update, but all is not lost. So what do BI analysts do? So this is where it's going to get kind of crazy. So let's just look at this red portion first. So this is without a BI analyst. This is what people do. This is what I did at Warner Brothers. So you have your data sources like SAP Salesforce that has like how many people bought your stuff, like how many people bought PlayStation 5s, how many people bought shoes. And then you have your Google Analytics too, if like you have web data and just basic Excel. Sometimes people will just, like other teams will just send you Excel reports or something. So then what happens is that normal people, they'll just use Excel to do everything. And I think that's a good starting point, but it's not scalable. So they do this thing called ETL, which stands for extract, transform, and load. Pretty much it's just a 3-letter word that says clean data, put it together, and get it prepared for a visualization or like an Excel dump. And so then they do their data analysis in Excel, and then they use Excel to deliver it to Outlook. Pretty much they're emailing it to somebody. So now let's look at the business intelligence reporting. So it simplifies things, but it just makes things better. And I'll explain why. So instead of, an Excel report for each one of these extracts, what it's doing is you could put all these data sources into Amazon S3 and then make tables out of it in SQL. So just imagine like all of these things are available in one place. And then you could use Python and this is Apache Airflow. Pretty much, don't worry about Airflow too much, but if you're in tech, you know what it is. Pretty much it's a scheduler. It'll schedule data extracts, but pretty much here, this is where all your data is held. And then with SQL, you get to put all of those data into tables. And then from here, pretty much you can kind of just go like this. So data visualization and analysis, you could read that data directly from one source, which would be Redshift, and then kind of just explore it in Power BI. This is Power BI, this is Tableau, and this is Google Data Studio. And you could deliver it within its own platform, like Power BI, Tableau, and Google Data Studio. So then that way, like, you could have all your visualizations in one place that everybody can view without like, you having to email somebody like, hey, here's a visualization. So I'll tell you why the pros and cons of this. So resiliency and elasticity, like Excel is not scalable. Like if we go back to this, if they wanted this report done every day, one person would have to go in there and just make that report every day, take hours. In this situation, I just have to create the report once, and then, it's pretty much done. It'll just keep refreshing and everything, assuming that all of these systems work. And this is where like you have to understand the tech stack in order to be able to create this infinitely scalable, I mean, maybe not infinitely, but very scalable process. So flexibility and scalability, Power BI has it. Automation, we can automate these reports. So for example, when I first joined at Nike, there's these guys, these 2 guys are doing 3 reports, and they were doing it daily. And it took them, like I sat through it, it's like a 4 or 5 hour trek every single day. They would wake up at 6 a.m. and finish by like 10. And so it was just disheartening. And I knew what it was. I was like, dang, we need to automate this. This is ridiculous. So they were using SQL, but they weren't using a BI tool that can like automatically update this information. So at the end of it, after 3 months at Nike, I went there and automated 50 reports. So, if these guys make, let's say 100K a year, so let's say 200K total, and they were pumping out 3 reports a week, and then I was getting paid and I was doing 50 reports a week, that's where the value shift is. If I can do that and it's automated and it's in real time, it's just so much value. So automation, running costs, it's in the long term cheaper. And then higher security, somebody can just take an Excel file, download it, and now they have all your data on stuff, like maybe like shoe releases or something like that. So I have sold you on the idea that business intelligence is super important. And now you're asking me like, okay, I am sold. Now, how do I land my first job? So this is going to be the longer portion of this presentation. So I kind of want to talk about like, what did I do? So while searching for work, I honestly read 100+ personal development books from the time I graduated, from the time to today. And that was mostly due to my long commutes. And like, I would just listen to a book like, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, How to Win Friends, Influence People, data books, data podcasts. I watched so many LinkedIn learning videos. Like that was my go-to until I found more specific learning courses. Like then I discovered Udacity, and I'm not sponsored by any of these people, so I have no affiliation, but I really liked the Udacity course on BI where it didn't have any coding in it. They use this tool called Alteryx, which kind of does what Python and SQL do. And then once I learned Python, I was like, oh, wow, okay. So I don't need a whole UI to do this. I could just do it with code. And then after Warner Brothers, when I got let go, I was like, you know what? I want to invest in myself. And I spent a lot of money at USC for the data bootcamp. And I learned Python. It was like one of the best ways to learn where it's like you're with other people. And so much so, I love this course so much that I made my mom do it and I have my other friends doing it. And so we're going to get my friends to level up. We're going to break we're all breaking 6 figures. And yeah, so that's my goal with my friends. So, and I watched so many hours of Tableau training, like, yeah. And then I created a bunch of data projects. And this is like you do all this training, right? But if you do all this training and you don't create a project, that's like saying like, oh man, I watched all these videos on how to ride a bike, but you end up not riding a bike. It's kind of like, okay, well, eventually you got to perform. So that's why you got to create projects. As a result, in 2019 alone, I got 9 job offers. I had 20 in-person interviews. I had a 50% rating. I landed my job at Nike and then Sony in July 2020. I quadrupled my pay. So I was a photographer making minimum wage and I quadrupled it. And I think it's more than quadrupled now, but all with little to no data work experience. Like, I had that one job in Excel, but like, if I were to go back in time and if I knew I wanted to become a business intelligence analyst, I would have just knocked it out. I would have just studied pretty much this stuff I'm going to tell you. So how do you learn your first data job? How do you learn your first role? You have to learn the tech stack. Absolutely. You got to learn the tech stack. And since you guys are here at the conference, I think this is one of the best jobs to get as your first role because it's so wide and it's like the barrier of entry is so low relatively versus like being a data scientist where you have to know machine learning and how to create these crazy algorithms that nobody knows how it works. But I'm sure somebody knows it here in the conference. So you create projects. So you learn the tech stack, create projects, and then you optimize your LinkedIn and resume, and then ultimately learn how to job hunt. And this is where, this next 20 minutes is going to be on. So learn the tech stack. So the tech stack is Excel, SQL, Tableau, Python. I actually, with my buddy at USC, we actually did, we web scraped LinkedIn and we looked at all the data analyst jobs in LA. And these were the 4 keywords that came up absolutely the most often for data analysts and business intelligence analysts. And it makes sense. As I'm in it, it's like, yes, end users use Excel. You need SQL to be able to pull data from it. And you don't really need to create tables or anything. That's more of a database administrator. You just need to read SQL and be able to join tables together and stuff. And then Tableau, where you visualize everything. And then Python. Okay, so on the left, I have free resources. So Udacity has a couple of free resources. Solo Learn, LinkedIn Learning, lynda.com, which is LinkedIn Learning, Coursera, you can audit classes, and Code Academy has a free version. And then we have the $1 sign, which is kind of cheap. Udemy is like $20 classes. I've done a couple of them, edX, DataCamp, DataQuest, Code Academy Pro. And then the super expensive stuff is Udacity Nano Degree. Like those are so expensive. I've done 2 of them and like just be prepared to know, like, because you want to get as much done. Like I think I only spent like $400. Like I try to just get through the whole thing in a month. They say 3 months, but like you just beast through those videos. And it's really great. Udacity, again, I'm not from them or anything, but they have really great courses where you can type the code in the website and get quick response, and it looks exactly like what I would do at work. So. There's data boot camps, cost $8,000 to $12,000. I personally spent $10,000 at USC. Or you could get an MS and an MBA in data, which I think is a complete waste of time because like the data changes so fast. Like Python, when I was learning it was 3.5 and now it's 4 point something. So like the thing is like it keeps changing and you got to keep, I think the data boot camps are agile enough that it can continue to bring value. But if you're looking just to get started, start with the free stuff. And then eventually I'm trying to create my own BI course because even at USC, they're not teaching the best stuff. And I think I could do better. But moving forward, create projects. There's a lot of popular data sources. In BI, again, all you have to do is tell a really great story. So popular data sources are Kaggle. You can find data on almost anything. Like you want to get into video games, there's video game data there. Do you want to get into human resources analytics, there's stuff there. Do you want to get into stocks, there's data there. And there's people that have analyzed it where you can look at how they analyze stuff, and then you create your own project on it. And then you create a PowerPoint just like this, and you run through it in an interview. Yelp API, then share it on LinkedIn, typo there, and use it in job applications. So when you have a job application where it says attach additional files, dude, attach that project, especially if it's a business intelligence project or whatever kind of job you're getting. So when I graduated college, this is more of like my bachelor's degree. This is kind of something like this is a reality for most students. Like I had no job experience. I literally just went to college and that's all I did. And I didn't even get good grades either. I think I got 3.5 overall. So no previous experience in data, no coding knowledge, no internships, no resume. Like I came out of college like screwed, no LinkedIn, and pretty much this is it. This is me. So there's hope for everybody that doesn't have this stuff because you're here. So learn basic job hunting. You need to learn how to build a resume, professional branding on LinkedIn, use talent agencies and networks. So this is like, we're going to go in depth on all of these. So here we go. So resume building. What makes a good resume? What does a good one look like? What should I include on it? And pretty much those are the big three things, right? So we're gonna do a little bit of participation, and let me see. So if you're in the chat, I need you guys to look at this next one. So this is a sample resume. It's all made up. Let me see. Let me open up my Hoova app because I can't see it on my computer. Okay, so which resume is better, the one on the left or the one on the right? So I want you guys in the chat that are watching this right now and have your volume on, and I want you guys to say in the chat left or right. So if you guys want to talk in the chat, it's going to be in the Hoova app. So I'll wait like a couple minutes. Okay, cool. Coco, hey, Coco's in here. Let's go. So Coco says left. Anybody for the right? I'll wait for a couple more responses. All right, Emily says the right. All right, so we're at a 50-50 impasse. Come on, guys, one more. Men and women. All right, one more just to, oh, here we go. Now we got a bunch of people. Oh, wow. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now we're getting everybody in. Maybe there's a delay or something. Okay, so honestly, it's looking pretty like half and half. So I'm going to tell you this. This is the resume that got me Nike. As you can see, it looks boring. And so let me explain to you why this is. Because in resume building, your resume is going through this thing called an applicant tracking system, where it's a program that reads your resumes and sparses it to give recruiters a quick way of reading 1,000 resumes, essentially. So if you make your resume optimized for those systems, then your resume will not get trashed out. So let me kind of go back to this. So this was created in Photoshop. So this was just a PDF, and none of this data is easily read by a machine. So, that's why like these aren't that great. And if you put it in this way, your resume will be seen by a person, especially if you keyword it correctly and everything. So, this is what landed me Nike. I have my name really big at the top, where I am, my phone number, my email address, my LinkedIn, my GitHub, my Tableau. I put all my technical skills first, my work experience second, and then I put my project like last. Like pretty much, there's this thing in web development. It's called pretty much if you fold the paper in half, it's like under the fold. So you want to make sure the first thing that they see, like they're going to first see, they're going to see this first half. And then if you get them in this first half, it's pretty much like a book, you know, you get them by the cover and then they'll read the rest. So you want to put the most important things up front. So I did that. And then at the end, I just talk about my education and my business analytics project first. So if you're a new student, what your thing will look like most often is you're going to put education at the top, and then you're going to put your project second, and then whatever work experience or volunteer experience, you're going to put it there at the bottom. Because like, you know, if you just have, you know, you're a server at a restaurant or something, like that's not data oriented, but that will showcase your soft skills, which is important in data. So yeah, that's the resume that got me Nike, and also a resume that got me Sony. So LinkedIn tips. Fill in everything on LinkedIn. Customize your URL. Turn on looking for job opportunities. This is key, super key, because you know people just start hitting you up for jobs, and that's the best kind of way to apply to jobs when you don't even have to do anything. I would say get 500 plus connections. It's just one little thing. What that does, it tells recruiters that you give a crap about LinkedIn, and pretty much like that just showcases that you're willing to connect with people. You know, it's kind of, you know, how do you say it? A vanity metric, but you know, you play to win and you win to play. So that's it with LinkedIn. These are very basic. I actually have a whole LinkedIn like course where I talk in depth about how to do LinkedIn stuff. So if you guys connect with me on LinkedIn, I could share that course with you. It's actually one of my featured videos. So you guys can look at that on my LinkedIn. Use talent agencies. Oh, so this is, okay, what is a talent agency? So we see on the right, we have Tech Systems, Vaco, TCG. Again, I'm not affiliated with these people, but they're definitely here in the chat as well. I saw them, they exist. And it's their job to find talent like you and I and get them a job. And so it's in their best interest to get you the highest paying job. And they get a cut, they get a percentage cut of it. So I think typically it's 70-30 split or a 40-60 split, where the talent agencies will get, let's say 30% of your wage. So if you make 100K, like that's the offer that you get, they're making 30% on top of that. So like you make, like I'll take the 100K home and they're probably making like 30,000 from that. So it's in their best interest to help you. So you want to align yourself with these talent agencies, especially as you're getting started. And there's so many data roles right now because of the tech. This is a tech boom in like right now in COVID, because like everything is going online, right? Like all the restaurants are like, all right, you have to put in a phone order, you have to put in an online order. So this is a really big deal. So pretty much is everything that I said. Network and be part of a professional org. Pretty much go to data cons, be prepared, have an elevator pitch, talk to people, and schedule information interviews. Like if you guys want to deeper dive, come talk to me afterwards and everything like that. Talk about openings after work. Sometimes like you'll have an opening, like I got the Warner Brothers job, like you never know. So in summary, focus on learning the foundations of data. That's Excel, SQL, Python, Tableau. Utilize projects to fill in the experience gaps and learn tools, and develop your personal brand to reflect data expertise, even if you have no experience. So I am now going to open up to questions because I know I have 5 minutes left. But what I want to say is on the right here, I have the whole presentation slide. So if you just screenshot this page, then you can always like refer back to these. So yeah, connect with me on LinkedIn and we can definitely continue the conversation there. So any questions in the chat?
There is one question, Christian. What is the difference between business intelligence, data analysis, and machine learning? I would like to know how it is different from these two, as the life cycle has both data analysis and machine learning.
I personally have never had to use machine learning at my jobs for business intelligence. So if that's going to hold you back, don't even worry about it. But you will, like, eventually you can use XGBoost and the basic stuff that's like XGBoost gradient boosting. Like, so that's what I'm going to say. Data analysis, I don't know. Data analysis is like telling the future. BI is like explaining the past, where we're creating old data. So I'll just move on to the next question. If you're emailing a resume to a person directly, would there be any advantage of using the one on the right then? No. I mean, the thing is, like, if you're going to create a resume, it already takes a long time because you have to continually edit it. I recommend keeping your resume in Google Drive and Google Docs and just like keep creating new versions of it. You know, if you're in person, that's the only way I would say like create a really graphic resume. But honestly, it's not that big a deal. Like you want to showcase your value, not like you can create something pretty. Like I'm a photographer and I create pretty things. And for me, like I've already felt like, all right, it's about like, because I could take really great photos, it doesn't matter. It has to make sense to the end user. Okay, so questions related, isn't summary necessary? No. Can you share this presentation? Yes. It's right here. How does a typical day as a business analyst look like? It kind of looks like, I don't know if I have time to explain it, but wake up in the morning and I'll get a response from a business user. Let's say the CFO, he's like, hey, I want to know the profit of this thing. So then of this product and all of our product line for Sony, which games are most profitable? So kind of going down that line, I will go into SQL and figure out like what data do I have, and then go forth from there. And then once I know I have the data, I'll go into Tableau, put that data, plug it in, start creating some bar graphs, bar charts, line charts, whatever like makes the idea easiest to understand. Like maybe a bar chart for every, like a bar represents every person or every game, I'm sorry, and their profitability. And then I'll just see their overall profitability and then send that to the dude or send that to the CFO and be like, hey, is this kind of what you're thinking of? And he might ask for more, might ask for less. And that's pretty much it. Like they'll ask me a question and I'm like the guy that just solves the answer. And then sometimes if I don't know where the data is, I have to talk to a data engineer or I have to do some other stuff. So, okay, I'm gonna continue the next one. How technical do you get with Python, ETL, SQL, or other BI's text tool? Honestly, like it's pretty entry level. Like with SQL, okay, I think SQL is where you need to dive the most. That's where I'm in 80% of the time. Like that's where you need to be the most advanced. Like you need to know what a window function is. Like if you can know what a window function is, you understand the basics of everything of SQL. So yep. All right, what is the difference between BI? Okay, I did that one.
I have one question, Christian.
Yeah.
Do you miss the creative side of things? I know, going from photography, visualizing, even some designers, right? And going to seeing numbers, SQL. Is there something you miss there, or somehow you balance your creativity, your visualization?
Oh, dude, visualization is a totally creative field. So I mean, I'm not missing out on anything. Is my session going to be cut short in like a minute?
No, actually, we still have 2 or 3 minutes left.
Okay, I mean, because I want to show like that. That's a really good question. And I'm trying to show my Tableau public. And like, yeah, I get to create really cool, like, all right, maybe I could just go here. Like this dashboard here. Like I get to create, like for me, it's like an artwork. It's like how to put this stuff together. So I don't think I'm missing out on anything as far as creativity goes. So it's one of the most creative jobs out there because I'm creating visualizations that make somebody understand something very quickly. So I would say that. Is any other questions?
I don't see any other in
Okay,
Wolva.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, you do. You have
I see
one
a
more.
bunch.
Yep.
Question related to resume. Isn't it summary necessary in a resume? No. Can you share that? Yes. How technical? Okay, I read that one.
I think the last one is, do you work on RDBMS, dimensional or strictly cloud-based databases?
Yeah, relational databases always.
Dimensional.
Fact and dimension tables. And typically, like, yeah, I would say strictly cloud-based databases just because, like, I don't know. I haven't been to a company where they actually store their stuff locally anymore. It's probably more secure, but considering that we're pulling data from webs things, it's kind of I don't know. I haven't had the need to, so I haven't seen it. So mostly cloud stuff. Yeah, I think. Yeah, are the answers going somewhere or? Okay, do you offer one-on-one courses? I'm thinking about it. I've been a teacher now for 3 cohorts, and feel pretty confident I can take what they do at USC and make it even better, because sometimes I feel like it's tone deaf. Like they're teaching you stuff that you don't need, that's not relevant to, because the boot camp is about data analytics and visualization, and they go so deep into visualization where it's kind of like the most hard way to create visualizations, and usually like that's JavaScript D3. And like you could create all this really great stuff in Tableau, Power BI, Google Data Studio with the ease of less coding. And I think that's the most important skills. Like even people that I work with, they don't have these skills. Like I've yet to actually meet somebody that has like that knows how to do this stuff better than me. I know there is at TableauCon, but like, in real life, I've yet to meet somebody that can create really great dashboards. And it is not that difficult. You watch the Tableau videos and you'll be able to do it. And if you need a mentor, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. If you're emailing a resume directly, would there be any advantage of using one? Oh yeah, we already answered that one.
Yeah, I think we answered most questions, and thank you, Christian, for offering help anyone here in the room. I think we are done here. So I'd like to thank you, Christian Bourdeau, for your presentation. And I appreciate all the attendees for the questions and interactions during this session. Please contact the speaker if you have any further questions regarding this topic. Please provide your comment and feedback to us for the organizers on the community board, or start a discussion there to connect with others in the DataCon LA 2020 community. Thank you for joining today's presentation, and I hope you can gain some insights from the session. Have a wonderful day, and thank you for being part of this year's DataCon LA. Thank you, Christian.
Thank you guys for having me.